everyone, welcome back to. By the way, I'm so sorry for this. पहले वेलकम बैक से पहले मुझे ये कहना पड़ रहा है, सॉरी कहना पड़ रहा है. सुनो आप. So by the way, I'm so sorry. फिर ये बाहर एक बच्चा रो रहा है और मैं अभी नहीं शुरू करूँगी पढ़ने का, तो मैं कब करूँगी ऑनेस्टली, राइट? एंड ऑल्सो दिस इज अ स्टडी विद मी, जहाँ पे आपको मोहल्ले वाली एक्सपीरियंस मिलेगी. बिकॉज मैं लिटरली इस मोहल्ले में ऐसे जगह में रहती हूँ जहाँ पे लिटरली मतलब यू गेट एवरी नॉइज हियर. ओके, ठीक है. अभी चिल्लाने के, बच्चे झगड़ा करने के, गॉड ये तो ज़्यादा ही हो गया. मैं खुद जाके एक दो थप्पड़ के आऊँ. भाई क्यों रो रहा है ये? ठीक है. ऐसी जगह में रहती हूँ जहाँ पे ये बच्चे रोते हैं, खेलते हैं, कूदते हैं, झगड़े की आवाज़ है आंटियों की. एंड यू ऑल्सो गेट हियर फ्री फंडे में 20 का एक बिस्का एक कांदा एंड केसर भांडे, एवरीथिंग लाइक ऑल टाइप ऑफ नॉइज यू गेट हियर. बट I'm so sorry. या मैं क्यों इस पे ध्यान दे रही हूँ? मुझे नहीं देना चाहिए. एंड नो ध्यान देना चाहिए. वेलकम बैक टू स्टडी विद मी विद मोहल्ला वाला एक्सपीरियंस, या फिर कितना गंदा एक्सपीरियंस इन फैक्ट. सो सॉरी फॉर गिविंग यू सच अ बैड एक्सपीरियंस. बाय द वे, इफ यू गाइस सी दैट दिस इज अ लिटिल चेंज्ड वन. यहाँ पे मैं स्टडी बना रही हूँ. इट्स लिटरली हमारे बेडरूम में, ठीक है, क्योंकि देखो वहाँ पे मेरा भाई टीवी देख रहा है, ठीक है, जहाँ पे मैं हॉल में बैठ के मैं पढ़ती हूँ यूजुअली. इट्स अ वेरी प्रोडक्टिव प्लेस फॉर मी. वहाँ पे मेरा भाई टीवी देख रहा है एंड मैं ऊपर भी मैं कर सकती थी, बट वहाँ पे भाई इतने चिपकलियाँ, मुझे डर लग रहा है. दिस इज लाइक या इस रूम में थोड़ी चिपकलियाँ मुझे दिखी थी एक बार बहुत पुराने ज़माने में, बट अभी पता नहीं आ रहा है, होप कि नहीं है. बट आई एम वेरी मच स्कैर्ड. आई हैव दैट फोबिया थिंग ऑफ दैट चिपकलीज, बट इट्स ओके. लेट्स स्टार्ट स्टार्टिंग. सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम नहीं करेंगे. लाइक लेट अस फर्स्ट डील विद डील. वाओ. तो फर्स्ट आई वांट टू डू किडनी वाला चैप्टर नाउ. सो okay, let's start from, we will study kidney. So kidney is what we all know. What is kidney? Kidney is kidney, which is kidney. Okay, we know that kidney fail happens. No, this is not we know. So kidney is the part of the body which is the excretory part of the body. So kidney is situated in the back, lower abdomen. No, it's not lower abdomen, I'm sure. Lower part of the body. कहाँ है? Back, पीछे, bean shaped 10. It is 10 centimeter long and 6 centimeter width. Located on either side of the backbone and protected by the last two pairs of lips. The right side of the kidney is at a slightly lower level than the left one. The right side of the kidney is slightly lower than the left one. A tube, the ureter, arises from the level. Then the wait. First of all, let us. This is my little. I'm so sorry. What am I doing here? I don't want to waste editing. क्यों तो 3 मिनट वेस्ट कर या मैं पूरा करने वाली हूँ. 3 मिनट वेस्ट करे मैंने. But study with me. Enough. I'll just make my. भाई रुको 2 मिनट. ये मुझे कवर बिल्कुल नहीं पसंद है जिस पे ये लग रखा है. मैं वो कवर निकाल रही हूँ and it's a little comfortably. Okay, let's start. Okay, what is the excretory system? वहाँ पे हम किडनी पढ़ रहे हैं. There are number of chemical substances which are regularly formed in our body or which are absorbed through the food that must be eliminated, otherwise they become harmful. Some such substances are carbon dioxide, water vapor, nitrogenous, metabolic waste, excess salts, vitamins, excess water, bile pigments, etc. Okay, so carbon dioxide and water. Every living cell liberation energy by oxidizing glucose with the production of carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide is eliminated through the lungs. The extra water is released out of the body in the form of sweat. This include urea, uric acid, and ammonia. These are produced mainly in the liver from dead protein remains of the other tissues that are brought to it. Any extra amino acids, digestion products of protein cannot be stored in the body. These are broken down in the liver to produce unstable, also storable glucose and urea that has to be excreted out. Urea is highly poisonous. If allowed to accumulate in the blood to a certain level, it causes death of the person. So urea is excreted out through the kidneys. Excess salt such as common salt, NaCl, and even some excess water soluble vitamins like B, C needs to be eliminated. Salts are mainly given out through kidney. Water is taken with with food. Wow, what a grammar. Water is taken in, wow, क्या brain है मेरी actually. Water is taken in with food and beverages in large quantities. The excess quantity of water is removed with incidentally also serves the useful purpose of dissolving the harmful materials to carry them out. Bile pigments are broken down products of hemoglobin of the dead RBCs. The liver cells extract it from the circulation and secrete it into the bile juice, poured into duodenum through the common bile duct. These pigments are modified in the intestine to pigments that give faces. They are yellowish color, yellowish brown color. Some of these pigments are extracted in this. No, excretion is a process of removal of harmful and unwanted nitrogenous waste from the body. What is excretion? Excretion is the removal of unwanted harmful waste from the बॉडी, याद रखना है ना, ठीक है. तो एक्सक्रीटरी ऑर्गन्स में आता है, किडनीज आते हैं, स्किन आता है, और लंग्स आता है, लिवर कम्स. सो दिस आर द 4 एक्सक्रीटरी ऑर्गन्स. I don't know, it's not even important. This is important, जो मैंने तब से पढ़ा, substance to be eliminated, that is not important. ये important है पढ़ना, ठीक है. So kidneys पहले. So these are the primary excretory organs, ठीक है, eliminating nitrogenous waste, chiefly urea from blood and throwing it out in the form of urine. In addition to kidneys and the associated urinary system, ureters, urinary bladder and urethra, the following accessory excretory organs also help in removing waste substances from our body. Skin. Sweat excreted by the sweat glands of the skin primarily excrete water and sodium chloride along with small amounts of urea and lactic acid. Sweat glands pass out sweat only when required for cooling, so truly they are not excretory in function. Lungs. They excrete carbon dioxide from our body through the expired air. Liver. Liver detoxifies ammonia by converting it to urea. Urea is excreted through urine. Liver also breaks down bad cholesterol, alcohol, nicotine and drugs. Kidneys. The kidneys are 2 bean-shaped organs, 10 cm long, 6 cm wide, located on either side of the backbone, protected by the last 2 ribs. The right side of the kidney, ये है right, I don't know आपको left log दिख रहा होगा ऐसे, but yeah, this is the right by the way. The right side of the kidney is slightly lower than the left one. This is how it is. A tube ureter arises from the notch which is hilum, notch hilum. So there's a tube which ureter which arises from the hilum, which there's a kidney which is a tube which arises from the hilum in the median surface of each kidney and connects behind the urinary bladder, I'm just trying to imagine, okay. Urinary bladder in the lower part of the abdomen. In the front end of the ureter is somewhat expanded into kidneys and is called pelvis. The urine produced in the kidneys constantly flow through the ureters and collect in the urinary bladder. The urine is intermediately emptied from the urinary bladder to the outside of the body through the urethra. The opening of the ureters are somewhat projecting and act like valves to prevent the backflow of urine. When the bladder contracts to pass out urine, a sphincter circular muscle guards the opening of the bladder into the urethra and relaxes only at the time of urination. Mic nutrition. Urination is also called as process is called as mic nutrition under an impulse from the brain sends की urination. So that is brain says, वरना पता कैसे चलता है. So that's how internal structure of the kidney now. But yeah, before studying अभी start करते हैं internal what before studying अभी, ठीक है. The longitudinal section of kidney, I just won't have my practical book. अभी मैं यहाँ पे diagram बनाऊंगी because समझ नहीं आता and we are little uppu map students, तो हमें कुछ भी पढ़ना होगा तो diagram तो चाहिए, ठीक है. Who all agree please tell me in the comment section. But yeah, internal structure of the kidney. A longitudinal section of kidney shows 2 main regions. An outer region which is called as cortex. तो kidney बनाओ पहले, okay. There is an outer region, ठीक है. There is this one, ठीक है, सही है. देयर इज दिस वन आउटर रीजन विच इज कॉल्ड एज कॉर्टेक्स, ठीक है, and the inner region which is called as medulla, ठीक है. The medulla is composed of a finely stripped substances arranged in several conical pyramids. There are several conical pyramids, ठीक है. This all we know, conical pyramids, ठीक है. The apex of each pyramid is called papilla. Wow, papaya बोलो, papilla, which projects into pelvis of the kidney. So the each pyramid इसका द एपेक्स ऑफ ईच पिरामिड, मतलब जो एंड है ना उसका ना वो पपीला से जुड़ा हुआ है. इससे जुड़ा हुआ पपीता नहीं, पपीला, ठीक है. यहाँ पे एक और लॉन्गिट्यूडनल स्ट्रक्चर है, देखो ए बी सी है. सी वाला नेफ्रॉन, ये छोड़ दो आप. ए बी वाला देखना पेज नंबर 122, किडनी वाला चैप्टर, ठीक है. तो वहाँ पे दे रखा होगा व्हाट इज पपीला, पपाया नहीं पपीला, विच प्रोजेक्ट्स इनटू द पेल्विस ऑफ द किडनी. पोर्शंस ऑफ द cortical tissue extend in between adjacent renal pyramid of the to form the renal columns. The kidney is composed of an enormous number of minute tubules called uniferous tubules or nephrons or renal tubules or just kidney tubules. कितने सारे नाम हैं, याद रख लो, ठीक है. These are structural as well as functional units of kidney, ठीक है. क्या है structural functional unit of kidney? नेफ्रॉन नेफ्रॉन है, किडनी ट्यूब्यूल है, रेनाल ट्यूब्यूल है, यूनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल है, दोनों साथ एक ही है, ठीक है, सब एक ही है. सो ये हो गया हमारा. सो बिफोर स्टडिंग स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ किडनी ट्यूब्यूल, नेफ्रॉन, यूनिफेरस ट्यूब्यूल, रेनाल ट्यूब्यूल, मैं पहले अपने ब्रेन में ये डायग्राम्स बाय द वे मैं ये फिट करना चाहती हूँ, तो हम ये दोनों डायग्राम्स बनाएंगे. नाउ आई डोंट नो इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट, इट्स नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट, इट्स फॉर मी. I'm learning, I'm not learning for the exam, I'm learning, मुझे चाहिए. वो मैंने स्टार्टिंग में तो मैं ऐसे ही करके पढ़ा था मैंने, ठीक है, कि मुझे एग्ज़ाम के लिए पढ़ना है. और अभी एग्ज़ाम आ रहा है, आपके लिए एग्ज़ाम के लिए नहीं पढ़ना, नॉलेज के लिए पढ़ रही हूँ. व्हाटएवर गाइस, बट या. तो हमने बनाए पहले मेरे कोनिकल पिरामिड्स, ठीक है, जिसके अंदर मम्मी सोई, दैट पिरामिड वाली, ठीक है. दिस स्कोरी conical pyramids which has all mummies वाले mummies in this. इस टाइम पे जोक चाहिए, बिल्कुल ही चाहिए, है ना. Exactly, this is your reaction. जोक करना तुझे, वाह, कमालूंगा, but it's okay. No, it's not. So here we have conical pyramids. Its end is attached to papilla, and it goes to the pelvis. It connects to the pelvis, ठीक है. ये pelvis है, ये pelvis है, it connects to the pelvis. ये जो है ये ureter है, ये जो है कॉर्टेक्स है, ये कॉर्टेक्स है, ये जो है रेनाल कैप्सूल है, ये जो है रेनाल कॉलम है, ये पिरामिड है, ये पपीला है, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट ये जो है ये रेनाल कैप्सूल है पूरा. ये बाहर वाला कॉर्टेक्स है, अंदर वाला मेडुला है, ये पिरामिड है, ये पपीला है, ये पेल्विस है जिसके अंदर यूरिन फॉर्मेशन होकर इसमें जाता है यूरिन, एंड वो जाता है यूरेटर में डायरेक्ट. देन फर्स्ट जो होता है वो कनेक्टर होता है. फर्स्ट द बिग वाला जो होता है वो रेनाल वेन है, ये रेनाल वेन है विच हैज़ प्योर ब्लड जो है वो रेनाल वेन से निकलता है. भाई याद रख लेना बिच्छू से थोड़ा सा, बिकॉज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. रेनाल वेन विच हैज़ प्योर ब्लड, renal artery which has impure blood. Renal artery has impure blood, though artery carries oxygenated blood, but still guys renal artery has गंदा वाला blood, renal vein has अच्छा वाला blood, ठीक है. This is what we know. Now let's go dig into our structure of a kidney. So each kidney tubule follows many parts. So Bowman's capsule is a thin-walled, single-celled, thick epithelium cup. Bowman's capsule, ठीक है. This is Bowman's capsule. Something like a hollow ball pressed deep on side. Its hollow internal space continues into the tubule. The outer concavity of the long cup lodges a knot-like mass of blood capillaries called the glomerulus. The Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus together is called as Malpighian capsule, or it is also called as renal capsule. So you should always remember glomerulus is different, Bowman's capsule is different, okay. But glomerulus and Bowman's capsule को दोनों को मिला के हम बुलाते हैं उसको क्या, Malpighian capsule और renal capsule. में remember glomerulus is अलग and Bowman's capsule is अलग. Bowman's capsule, this is Bowman's capsule, this is glomerulus, this दोनों साथ में, that is Malpighian capsule or renal capsule also. Next, now we have PCT, which is also called as convoluted tubule or first convoluted tubule, is the starting convoluted region of the tubule. Approximated nearly means nearer to the Bowman's capsule. It is very near to the capsule. Where it is near to the capsule? It is very near to the Bowman's capsule. What? PCT का मतलब क्या होता है? Proximally convoluted tubule. Proximally convoluted tubule, which is also called as first convoluted tubule. It is also called as first convoluted tubule. Proximal convoluted tubule also it is called as first convoluted tubule because it is the first which is attached to what? Which is attached to the Bowman's capsule. So it is the first convoluted region. Wait a second. क्योंकि आपको आवाज़ यहाँ पे मतलब मोहल्ले वाली स्टडी कितनी है तो like let it be here we have again some people रेंट पे रहते हैं, रेंट पे तो थोड़ा हो जाता है एडजस्ट करना. नेक्स्ट प्रॉक्सिमेटेड हो गया, जैसे कि हमारा फर्स्ट कॉन्वोल्यूटेड ट्यूब्यूल है विच इज कनेक्टेड टू द बोमन्स कैप्सूल साथ में. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट बोथ द बोमन्स कैप्सूल एंड द प्रॉक्सिमेटेड कॉन्वोल्यूटेड ट्यूब्यूल पार्ट लाई इन द कॉर्टेक्स गिविंग इट अ डॉटेड अपीयरेंस इन द सेक्शनल व्यू. मिडल यू शेप्ड पार्ट विच इज अगेन ये जो है ना प्रॉक्सिमल कॉन्वोल्यूटेड ट्यूब्यूल एक यू शेप में बन जाता है. ठीक है. लूप ऑफ हेनले इसको कहते हैं हम. इज शेप्ड लाइक अ हेयर पिन. इट इज नॉट कॉन्वोल्यूटेड. इट रन्स इन मेडुला टू टर्न पिन. इट इज नॉट कॉन्वोल्यूटेड. इट रन्स इन मेडुला टू टर्न back and re-enter the cortex to continue into the next convoluted region tubule, which is again next convoluted region, which is second convoluted tubule. फिर ये after this ये again second convoluted, which is DCT. This is DCT is nothing else but distal convoluted tubule. Again lying in the cortex at the end part of the kidney tubule. Distal means further, far away. It opens into the collecting duct. Again this goes and it opens into the collecting duct. This is how it is, and then it goes into the collecting duct, and then this is the unit flows. यहाँ पे collecting duct ऐसे पता नहीं क्या है, शायद molecular osmosis का ही होगा शायद. And this is how it is. The collecting duct receives the contents of many kidney tubules and pores it as urine. In the pelvis of the kidney, Henle's loop and collecting duct lie in the medulla, giving it a striped appearance in the sectional view. Blood supplied to the kidney tubules. A pair of renal arteries branched off from the dorsal aorta. Dorsal aorta. आपको याद रखना चाहिए कहाँ है भाई dorsal aorta. Blood supplied to the kidney. A pair of renal arteries branch off from the dorsal aorta to enter the respective kidney. Each renal artery branches and rebranches several times to give rise to arterioles. Each such arteriole enters the Bowman's capsule under the name of efferent arteriole. This efferent arteriole efferent मतलब अंदर जा रहा है. ठीक है. This efferent arteriole each renal artery branches and rebranches several times to give rise to arterioles. Each such arteriole enters the Bowman's capsule under the name of efferent arteriole. This efferent arteriole brings into a number of capillaries which form a knot-like mass glomerulus closely fitting inside the Bowman's capsule. The reuniting capillaries of the glomerulus from the efferent arteriole. The efferent arteriole, after emerging from the Bowman's capsule, runs a short distance and breaks up into a secondary capillary network which surrounds the renal tubule and rejoins to form a vein. By uniting again and again with other veins of kidney, it ultimately forms the renal vein, which leaves the kidney at the median surface to pour the blood into the posterior vena cava. All the blood passes through the kidney 350 to 400 times a day at the rate of 1 to 2 liter per unit. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट देखो फंक्शंस ऑफ किडनी, प्रोडक्शन ऑफ यूरिन. अभी व्हाट आर द फंक्शंस ऑफ किडनी एंड हाउ इज द प्रोडक्शन ऑफ द यूरिन done. It has first is ultrafiltration, reabsorption and tubular secretion. Ultrafiltration, reabsorption and tubular secretion. Ultrafiltration, reabsorption, tubular secretion. The blood flows through the glomerulus under great pressure. अभी जो blood कहाँ से जाता है? glomerulus के अंदर से. glomerulus, remember what is glomerulus, जो Bowman's capsule के अंदर है. दोनों को मिला के क्या बोलते हैं? Marsden capsule. और उसका एक और नाम है renal capsule. ठीक है. The blood flows through the glomerulus under great pressure, which is much greater than in the capillaries elsewhere. The reason for this greater pressure is that the efferent outgoing arteriole is narrow than the efferent incoming arteriole. Efferent outgoing जो बाहर जा रहा है efferent, वो क्या है? वो wider है. Is narrow than the efferent incoming arteriole. वो sorry, it is efferent arteriole is wider. Okay. वाइडर, कौन सा एफरेंट है, ये जो एफरेंट है वो नैरो है. दिस हाई प्रेशर हाइड्रोस्टैटिक प्रेशर causes the liquid part of the blood to filter out from the glomerulus into the Bowman's capsule. This filtration under the extraordinary force is called as ultrafiltration. During ultrafiltration, almost all the liquid part of the blood plasma along with most of its organic and inorganic substances including urea, glucose, amino acids, etc. comes out of glomerulus and passes into the funnel shaped cavity of the Bowman's capsule. The fluid entering the tubule renal tubule is called glomerulus filtrate. रेनाल ट्यूब्यूल कहाँ है भाई, रेनाल ट्यूब्यूल रेनाल ट्यूब्यूल का मतलब होता है नेफ्रॉन. रेनाल ट्यूब्यूल. The glomerulus filter consists of urea, glucose, and other plasma. This thicker part of the blood left behind in glomerulus after ultrafiltration, namely the three kinds of corpuscles, proteins, and other large molecules are carried forward through the efferent arteriole. Thus, the blood proceeding away from the glomerulus is relatively thick. Reabsorption. The glomerular filtrate entering the renal tubule is not urine. It is an extremely dilute solution containing a lot of useful material including glucose and some salt such as those of sodium. As the filtrate pass down the tubule, much of water is reabsorbed together with the useful substances, but their reabsorption is only to the extent that the normal concentration of blood is not disturbed. This is called as selective absorption. The glomerulus filtrate entering the renal tubule is not urine. It is an extremely dilute solution containing a lot of useful materials including glucose and some salts such as those of sodium. As the filtrate passes down the tubule, much of the water is reabsorbed together with the useful substances, but their reabsorption is only done to the extent that the normal concentration of the blood is not disturbed. This is called as selective absorption. Certain substances like potassium in the normal course and a large number of foreign chemicals including drugs, penicillin are passed into the forming urine in the distal convoluted tubule. This passage involves the activity of cells of the tubular wall and hence it is called tubular secretion. The filtrate left after reabsorption and tubular secretion is called as urine. Now, what is efferent arteriole and efferent arteriole differentiation? It is a blood vessel that enters into the Bowman's capsule. It is a blood vessel that leaves the Bowman's capsule. It carries blood to the glomerulus of nephron. It takes the blood away from the glomerulus. It has a narrow diameter. It is large in diameter. It is a branch of renal artery, and so it carries blood containing more water and nitrogenous. Efferent arteriole joins from renal vein, and so they carry filtered blood back to circulation containing much less water and nitrogenous wastes. All these steps involved in urine production require energy, hence the oxygen demand of the kidney is 6 to 7 times higher than what is required by muscles. Urine excretion. Final urine passes into the collecting duct to the pelvis and through the ureter into the urinary bladder by ureteral balusters. Waves of constriction in the uterus, and due to gravity, urine is expelled from the urinary bladder through the urethra in the penis in males and directly females by relaxing of the sphincter muscles located at the opening of the urinary bladder into the urethra under impulse from the nervous system. Such a process is called as micnutrition. Physical properties of urine. Color: clear yellow due to pigment of chrome. Color varies with diet. Volume: 1 to 1.5 liter per day, but varies. pH 5 to 8. Usually it is slightly acidic. Protein diet makes it more acidic, while vegetable diet makes it alkaline. Vegetarian. Odor: on standing the smell, urine becomes strong ammonia-like due to bacterial activity, otherwise faint smell. Specific gravity कोई यूज नहीं है, छोड़ दो. Normal constituents of urine. The normal urine consists of about 95% of water and 5% of solid waste dissolved in it. The percentage of solid waste may slightly vary according to the food taken and according to the time after taking food, but usually these are approximately in grams as per urine. As follows: constituents of urine: यूरिया, सोडियम क्लोराइड, पोटेशियम क्लोराइड, अमोनिया, क्रिएटिनिन, यूरिक एसिड एंड अदर्स. ठीक है, ये होता है ओरिजिनल. इनऑर्गेनिक में यूरिया, क्रियाटेनाइन यूरिक एसिड होता है हमारे ऑर्गेनिक में, इनऑर्गेनिक में सोडियम क्लोराइड, पोटेशियम क्लोराइड, अमोनिया होता है इनऑर्गेनिक में. Besides the normal constituents, the urine may pass out certain hormones and also certain medicines like antibodies and excess of vitamins. Abnormal constituents in the urine. Blood, known as hematuria, is this condition. Blood passes with urine due to some infection in the urinary tract. Kidney stones or tumor is also happen due to what? Hematuria. कहाँ पे होता है? यूरिन में ब्लड पास होता है. हेमाचूरिया. Glucose. It is a condition called as glycosuria. Excess glucose passes with urine due to diabetes mellitus. It is also called as diabetes mellitus, insipidus, diabetes होता नहीं है, वो अलग है. चलो. Albinum due to high blood pressure or due to increased permeability of the woman's capsule membrane on account of bacterial infection. Albinum proteins may be passed out via the urine. This condition is called as albuminuria. Bile pigments due to anemia, hepatitis, jaundice or liver cirrhosis. Urine may contain bile pigments. Regulation of urine output. The pituitary gland diastole increased production of urine. Concentration of the urine by the water reabsorption is controlled by antidiuretic hormone ADH. Antidiuretic hormone secreted by the posterior lobe of the pituitary gland. If ADH secreted is reduced, there is an increased production of urine. If ADH secretion is reduced, antidiuretic hormone, then there is an increased secretion of urine. This is called diuresis. Substances that increase the formation of urine called as diuresis, including diets like tea, coffee, alcohol, etc. ठीक है. Now, what is osmoregulation? See, the kidneys, while removing waste like urea from the blood, also regulates its composition. The percentage of water and salts, this function is called as osmoregulation. It implies the regulation of osmotic pressure of the blood. So, the kidney, while removing waste like urea from the blood, also regulates its composition. The percentage of water and salts, this function is called as osmoregulation. It implies the regulation of osmotic pressure of the blood. Drinking enough water directly or through food helps the kidneys in their proper working. In tropical climates, as in our country, we drink चलो ये सब छोड़ो. In cholera, patients suffer from vomiting and watery bowels. ठीक है. Their intestines are unable to absorb water into the blood. This result in their kidney reabsorb almost all the water from the glomerulus filtrate in the renal tubules, and with it even the urea. Ultimately, they may die due to poisoning by the accumulation of high quantities of urea in their body. So या कोलेरा भाई का बहुत गंदा होता है यार. ठीक है. The intermediate treatment to the replenish water in the blood by glucose saline drip रखते पता वो भाई drip याद ही मत डलाओ मुझे. Drip is I have very bad याद of drip actually, and we did this chapter in like 25 minutes I took, and we're done. The immediate treatment is to replenish water in the blood by glucose saline drip by giving oral rehydration. ORS पीते होगे आप सब लोग. ORS क्या मस्त रहता है, बट नहीं पीना चाहिए, बट टेस्ट में अच्छा रहता है यार वो ऑरेंज वाला. सो या इफ अगेन यार आर्टिफिशियल किडनी पतली रहते हैं यार, आप सभी पतली है तो इफ वन किडनी इज डैमेज और रिमूव्ड फॉर सम रीजन, द अदर किडनी अलोन इज सफिशिएंट फॉर द excretory needs and the other person can lead a normal life, but failure of both the kidneys would lead to death. Artificial kidneys is a dialysis machine. The patient's blood is led from the radial artery, his or her arm, through the machine where the urea and excess salts are removed, and the purified blood is returned to a vein in the same arm. In case of permanent damage to the kidney, dialysis is to be repeated for every 12 hours twice a week. 12 hours, it takes 12 hours and it has to be done twice a week. So how this it is, oh god. But yeah, never mind, here we are done with that one, thankfully, finally, jo bhi keh lo. And let's now do nervous system. So yeah, let's start. Let's not waste further our time. The nervous system in our body performs the following major functions: keeps us informed about the outside world through the sense organs, enables us to remember, to think, and to reason out, controls and harmonies all voluntary muscular activities, running and even holding this book in your hand while reading. I'm not holding my book, by the way, I've kept it in my bed. कोई लगाओ यार तारा तारी, but it's okay. Regulate involuntary activities such as breathing or beating of heart without earthing. मुझे कसम से बहुत भी हो रहा है अभी, but it's okay. Focus. Regular involuntary activities such as breathing or beating of heart without our thinking about them. Like we don't, like, while I'm reading, while I'm talking to you guys, do I bother that my heart is beating? Do I know that my blood circulation in my brain, how is it happening? I'm not bothered. Though some people are bothered कि blood circulation कैसा हो रहा है, heart कैसा हो रहा है. I'm not bothered because I'm borderless. But yeah, you should be very much bothered about all this कि अच्छे से हो जाएगा नहीं. मैं try करती हूँ कि I keep my health good. I try exercising, but it doesn't happen with me. I try getting up in the morning to just do yoga. It doesn't happen, but I'm thinking of building. I'm not health conscious also. So this is literally very much affecting because I most of the times I have chest pain very bad. Not heart wala, like that rib, because ऐसे बैठती हूँ मैं डूग, and then and bad posture, तो ऐसे बैठना चाहिए and all that. It's okay. Why is this I'm saying all this? So yeah, let's get back to the point. So neuron or nerve cell, the unit of the nervous system. Our nervous system consists of brain, spinal cord, synapses, and a whole of nerves. The brain, spinal cord are made up of neurons or nerve cells. So let us first learn about the cells and neurons. Okay. Okay, I have just opened a book just in case I just want to. I like to scribble while reading. I don't know. I have this very, I don't know, weird habit of this. But yeah, let's open. Structure of neuron. The three main parts of neuron are cell body, which is a cell body, which is then it has dendrites, then it has an axon. I'm so sorry. मैं कैसे चिल्लाई यार, मुझे बहुत बुरा लगा, but it's okay. Actually that was my grandma asking me for tea, but I told चिल्ला के खाओ कि नहीं चाहिए मुझे. बहुत बुरा लगा यार, but ठीक है, कह दूँगी मैं सॉरी बाद में. The three main parts of neuron. पहला होता है cell body, फिर होता है dendrite. क्यों करती हूँ मैं ऐसा, एक सेकेंड. So now first we have cell body, then we have dendrites, then we have axon. Cell body. The cell body, which is called as perichiron or cyton, okay, it contains a well-defined nucleus surrounded by granular cytoplasm. It has granular cytoplasm. Okay, it contains a well-defined nucleus surrounded by a it has all the cell organelles like other cells. Only centrosome is absent because nerve cells have lost the ability to divide. Dendrites, these are branch cytoplasmic projections of the cell body. They conduct nerve impulses to the cyton. Dendrites are what? These are branch cytoplasmic projections of the cell body. They conduct nerve impulse to the cyton. They conduct what? They conduct nerve impulse to the cyton. Axon. What is axon? It is a long process from the cell body. It varies in size from few millimeters to even more than 1 meter in length. In most neurons, the axon is surrounded by white insulating sheath called as myelin or medullary sheath, which is covered by an outermost thin sheet called as neurilemma or neurilemma. The myelin sheath shows gaps through the length which are called the node of Ranvier. Some axons may have side branches called collaterals. The end portions of the axons have swollen ends like bulbs which store certain chemicals called as neurotransmitters, which also store neurotransmitters. The end portions of the axon, axon terminals are closely packed near the dendrites of another one or more neurons but are not connected. Such gaps between them are called as synaptic cliffs. Transmission of the nerve impulse. In the normal condition, the outer side of the nerve fiber carries positive charge plus charge. This is called as polarized state. This polarization is due to more Na plus ions outside axon membrane. On stimulation, mechanical, electrical, chemical heat access the axon membrane at that spot becomes more permeable to Na plus ions, which move inward and cause loss of polarization. Depolarization, again this is known as excited region. The point of depolarization becomes a stimulus for the next neighboring area of the membrane, which in turn become depolarized. So polarized, it has Na plus, and then again it becomes depolarized. So polarized, see, resting, it is polarized, this is polarized, depolarized, depolarized. again recovery happens, again it is repolarized happens. Okay, recovery of depolarized is करते depolarized होता है, फिर उसको वापस होता है वो repolarized हो जाता है, ठीक है, समझ आ गया. Meanwhile, the previous area becomes repolarized due to active transport of Na plus again to the outside. This transport is achieved by what is called as sodium pump using energy through ATP. Conduction of nerve impulse is a wave of repolarization followed by depolarization followed by repolarization. Do not compare conduction of nerve impulse in a nerve fiber with a flow of electricity through an electric wire. In the later, electrons actually do not move along the wire, whereas neither any substance or any electrons or ions move along the nerve fiber. Synapse. So what is synapse? We all know what is synapse. Is the point of contact between the terminal branches of the axon of a neuron with the dendrites of another neuron separated by a fine gap. At the synapse, the nerve impulse jumps into the next neuron. This is a chemical process. As the impulse reaches the terminal end of an axon, a chemical acetylcholine is released. This chemical sets a new impulse in the dendrites of adjacent neuron. The chemical is soon broken down by an enzyme to make the synapse ready for the next transmission. Types of neuron: sensory neuron, motor neuron, association neuron. ये तो हमें पता ही है कि types of neurons में कौन से आते हैं, 3 types आते हैं. Sensory neuron, the impulse from the receptor sense organ to the main nervous system, the brain or the spinal cord. Motor neuron carry impulse from the main nervous system to an effector. Association are located to the brain and spinal cord, which interconnect the sensory and the motor neurons. Nerves. Nerve is a bundle of nerve fibers of separate neurons enclosed in a tubular sheath. Nerves are the thread-like white structures which emerge from the brain and spinal cord and branch out to almost all the parts of the body. A nerve may be compared to an underground electrical cable containing numerous conducting wires, each insulated from the other. The myelin sheath of the axon acts like an insulation and prevents mixing of impulses in adjacent axons. The 3 kinds of nerves are sensory nerves, motor nerves, and again mixed nerves. Nerves अलग है, पगलेट neurons अलग है. The sensory nerves contain only sensory fibers, bringing impulse from the receptor sense organs to the brain or the spinal cord. Optic nerve arising from the eye, ending in the brain. Motor nerves contains only motor fibers carrying impulse from the brain and the spinal cord to the effector to bring into the suction. But I'll say you in my human anatomy. In fact, in pura biology, there is one chapter I'm weak, that's nervous system. I hate nervous. I don't hate nervous system. I didn't study nervous system in the initial time when ma'am was teaching. I was absent also due to my health condition. क्या ही कर सकते हैं भी. But yeah, तो my nervous system थोड़ी weak है यार. But yeah, mixed nerve are also those that contain both sensory and motor nerve. That is called as mixed nerve. Ganglia are the aggregates of the cytons or the cell bodies of the nerve cells from which the nerve fiber may arise or enter into. 2 major divisions of the nervous system: CNS, PNS, central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. 2 major divisions of nervous system. Central nervous system. First, let us study about central nervous system. Now, CNS includes the brain and the spinal cord contained within the vertebral column. PNS includes the nervous system that emerges from enter into the brain and the spinal cord. यहाँ से यहाँ कहाँ जाता है वो वाला. अभी ना PNS में भी ना PNS में we have again 2, which is SNS and that is ANS. Somatic nervous system, automatic nervous system. ठीक है. Somatic nervous system conveys information to skeletal muscles. Autonomic nervous system includes a pair of chains of ganglia and nerves which control the voluntary actions of the many internal organs. Now first let us study about what is that is our CNS. CNS मतलब central nervous system. ठीक है. चलिए सुनो ना यार, वैसे हाँ भाई तो CNS ही तो है पगलेट. तो CNS में गाइस हम स्टार्ट करते हैं अभी ब्रेन से पहले. सो इट इज इन पोर्शन टू द साइज ऑफ बॉडी. द ह्यूमन ब्रेन इज द लार्जेस्ट अमंग ऑल एनिमल्स. ठीक है. द ब्रेन इज अ वेरी डेलिकेट ऑर्गन वेल प्रोटेक्टेड इनसाइड द ब्रेन बॉक्स और क्रेनियम ऑफ द स्कल. द अडल्ट ब्रेन वेट्स अबाउट 1.35 kg and constitutes about 2% of the total body weight. It is 80% water, consumes more than 25%, 1/4 of the total oxygen taken into the body. Coverings meninges. The brain is protected by 3 membranous coverings called as meninges, which constitute backwards on the spinal cord. First is dura mater. पहला है dura mater, फिर arachnoid, फिर है pia mater. ठीक है. पहले the outermost tough fibrous covering that is dura mater. फिर है उसके बाद arachnoid, the thin delicate middle layer giving a web like cushion that is arachnoid. Pia mater, the innermost highly vascular membrane richly supplied with blood. Meningitis is the inflammation of meninges. The space between the covering membrane is filled with a watery fluid, cerebrospinal fluid (CSF), which acts like a cushion to protect the brain from the shocks. Cerebrospinal fluid. The same fluid also fills the central spaces of the brain and central canal of the uh, spinal cord. Parts of the brain. The brain has three main parts: cerebrum, cerebellum, medulla oblongata. The cerebrum is the largest portion of the brain. It is divided into right and left halves called as cerebral hemisphere. The outer surface is highly convoluted with ridges and grooves. Each cerebral hemisphere is hollow internally, and the walls have two regions: an outer cortex and an inner portion, medulla. The outer portion of the cerebrum contains cell bodies of the neurons, and being grayish in color is called the gray matter. It is a layer of gray matter which is flooded to form the convolutions. The floods are called as gyri, and the grooves are called as sulci. Such a system increases surface area to accommodate more nerves. It is believed that the higher number of convolutions in the human brain is due to the number of brain cells, hence the greater the intelligence. So, ऐसे ज़्यादा convolution तो ज़्यादा intelligence. अभी मेरे अंदर तो blue convolution नहीं है, chopped brain. That's why my brain is, I'm not that intelligent. But yeah, the inner portion of the cerebrum consists of white matter which mainly contains axons of the neurons. ठीक है. Corpus callosum is a sheet of fibers connecting the two cerebral hemisphere. Its function is to transfer information from one hemisphere to the other. The highly developed cortex enables us to think, reason out, invent, plan and memorize. Overall, the cerebrum is the seat of intelligence, consciousness and willpower. It controls all the voluntary actions, shows some major functions associated with different areas of the brain. What is generally called the subconscious or the unconscious mind is also located in the cerebrum. Many past experiences are covered up by more recent impressions which dominate consciousness activity in dreams, or when hypnotized and skillfully questioned, past experiences may be recalled. Cerebellum. The cerebellum is much smaller area of the brain located just at the base and under the cerebrum. It has no convolutions but has numerous furrows. But it has very much furrows. This also has an outer matter which is median section, appears like a branching tree. The main function of the cerebellum is to maintain balance of the body and coordinate muscular activities. The impulse for performing a muscular that originate in the cerebrum and not in the cerebellum. For example, if you stand up and walk, the impulse for this activity arises in cerebrum conscious part. The act of walking involves coordinated working of many muscular proper coordination and timing of their contraction and relaxation is the responsibility of the cerebellum. An alcoholic person when drunk generally walks clumsily. The cerebellum, due to the effect of alcohol, is unable to coordinate muscular movements properly. मैं तो अल्कोहल नहीं पीती तब भी ऐसे ढंग 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 सब ऐसे गिराती हुई चल जाती हूँ. Medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata is the lowest portion of the brain located at the base of the skull. It is roughly triangular and is continued behind as the spinal cord. Its function is to control the activities of the internal organs, for example, peristaltic movement of the alimentary canal, movement of breathing of the heart, and many other involuntary actions. Involuntary or injury to the medulla generally results in death. Medulla oblongata is बहुत ही important part of the brain. याद रख लेना, ठीक है. All parts taken together, the brain may be said to consist of three primary regions: forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. The various parts under each region. Forebrain में cerebrum, dicephanal thalamus, hypothalamus. Midbrain is normal brain, छोड़ दो उसको, कुछ नहीं है. hindbrain में आता है cerebellum, pons, medulla oblongata, ठीक है. This much you remember. So हम forebrain पढ़ते हैं, which is cerebellum, seat of intelligence, memory, consciousness, willpower, everything, ठीक है. Dicenthaphenol thalamus, relay pain and pressure impulse to the cerebrum. Hypothalamus controls the body temperature and pituitary hypothalamus होता है उसका नाम. मिड ब्रेन, मतलब मेरे को यहाँ पे जॉब पे बहुत दर्द हो रहा है भाई. पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है, but हाँ. Mid brain, a smaller tubular part, reflexes involving eye and ears. Hind brain, cerebellum, muscular activities, body balance and everything. Pons, located at the base of the brain, just above the medulla oblongata, carries impulses from hemisphere of the cerebellum to the other hemisphere of coordinates muscular movements on both the sides of the body. Medulla oblongata, internal organs, heart beat, breathing, etc. The spinal cord extends from the medulla to the brain, almost down all brain or down almost the whole length of the backbone at the end of the second lumbar vertebra, and lies within the neutral canal of the vertebrae. Shows the internal structure of the spinal cord in a cross section. Here the arrangement of the white and grey matter is reversed from that in the brain. The grey matter, containing the cell bodies of motor and association neurons, lies on the inner side, and the white matter on the outer side. The white matter contains axons running longitudinally to and from the brain, and even crossing from one side to the other. There is a small central canal in the center which runs the entire length, and it's continuous with the cavities of the brain. It is also filled with cerebrospinal fluid, which acts as a shock-proof cushion and forms the medium for the exchange of food materials, waste products, and respiratory gases with neurons. Externally, the spinal cord is covered by the same three membranes: dura mater, acronomid, and pia mater, in continuous with those of brain. Functions of the spinal cord. The spinal cord is concerned with the following three functions. The reflexes below the neck conduct sensory impulses from the skin and muscles to the brain, conducts motor responses from the brain to the muscles of the tongue and limbs. I was just checking कि मेरा ये क्या हो रखा है, क्यों दर्द क्यों हो रहा है. Yeah. Peripheral nervous system, which is called as PNS. So the peripheral nervous system, PNS, includes the nerves which carry impulses to and from the central nervous system. It is divided into somatic nervous system and autonomic nervous system. Somatic nervous system, this consists of two sets of nerves: cranial, spinal. Cranial nerves emerge from the brain. There are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, some of which sensory, like olfactory for nose, optic for eye, auditory for ears, motor nerves like ones going to the eye muscle, and mixed nerves like those going to and coming from the face and tongue. Spinal nerves emerge from the spinal cord. There are 31 pairs, 8 pairs in the neck and 12 pairs in the thorax, 5 pairs in the lumbar region, 5 in the skull, and 1 pair in the coccygeal region. The typical spinal nerve originates from the spinal cord by the means of two roots, a dorsal root and a ventral root. Each dorsal root has an overdorsal ganglion. Each spinal nerve is a mixed nerve having both sensory and motor fibers. At the junction of the two roots, the sensory and the motor fibers separate out. The sensory fibers continue in the dorsal root and motor fibers into the ventral root. Both the roots enter grey matter of the spinal cord and end in the corresponding dorsal and ventral projecting halls of the grey matter. Autonomic nervous system, ANS, consists of a pair of chains of nerves and ganglia on either side of the backbone. This system controls the involuntary action of the internal organs. There are two parts of autonomic nervous system: sympathetic, parasympathetic. Nerves of sympathetic arise from the spinal cord between the neck and the waist region. The parasympathetic located at the two places on anteriorly in the head and neck, and other posteriorly in the sacral region. These two parts are in general opposite to action. The sympathetic nerves is stimulated by the hormone adrenaline secreted by adrenal gland or kidney. Emotions and autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system is strongly influenced by emotions such as grief, anger, fear, sexual stimulation, etc. High blood pressure, stomach ulcers, and some other troubles may arise due to long continued emotional stress. Reflexes, इनवॉलेंट्री एक्शंस. रिफ्लेक्सेस का मतलब होता है क्या भाई? इनवॉलेंटरी एक्शंस. देखो, द टर्म रिफ्लेक्स कम फ्रॉम द लैटिन वर्ड रिफ्लेक्सेस मीनिंग रिफ्लेक्टेड और डायरेक्टेड बैक. कैन यू मेक आउट वेयर फ्रॉम द इम्पल्स आर रिफ्लेक्टेड from a reflected back in a reflex. There are two types of actions which occur in our body: voluntary, involuntary. Voluntary, you wish to watch some TV program on TV and you switch it on and press the remote for a particular channel. You pick up an apple and eat. You know the time. You raise your arm and look at the watch on your wrist. So this is voluntary. Involuntary, occurring unknowingly, also called as reflex. Okay, so some particle falls into your eye and there is an immediate flushing of tears to wash the particle. Instance, withdrawal of hand when an accidentally touch a hot iron, or shivering when it is cold, muscular contraction, sweating when too hot, dilation of the pupil when look at the dark, and vice versa. So all this. Okay. Next, pushing along of the swallowed food through food canal, not beating of the heart, non-stop beating of the heart. All involuntary actions or reflex actions are initiated by some kind of sensory stimulation resulting in either a muscular action or a glandular secretion. Types of reflexes. Reflexes are of two types: natural inborn or conditional. Natural inborn reflex is one in which no previous experience or learning no previous is one in which no previous experience or learning is required. These reflexes are inborn, inherited from the parents. Example: blinking, coughing, sneezing. These are protective. Salivation, swallowing, persistence. These provide functional efficiency. Conditional reflex or acquired reflex is one which develops during lifetime due to experience or learning. For example, what you experience that is sight by the smell of a familiar tasty resulting watering. The conditional, not eaten food earlier, the response will occur. Salivation occurs at the natural reflex. Also, saliva starts flowing down when you chew or eat food, but in the above example, salivation, the sight of the smell food was enough for the response. There your brain actually remembered the taste of the food and worked in an unconscious way. Such conditional reflex are not inborn and is also called as acquired reflex. Pavlov's experiment of a dog, that is also called as Pavlov's experiment. आपको पता ही होगा. Will not read that. Okay, we'll read some common reflexes in humans. Natural inborn, knee jerk, in which the leg is involuntarily extended as a result of a sharp tap below the kneecap. Quick closing of eyelids when an object suddenly approaches the eye or when a strong beam of light is flushed away. Withdrawal of hand when you suddenly pricked. Persistent difference, coughing, sneezing, all these are natural. Seeing the teacher entering the classroom, you stand up, that is, playing a musical instrument, using keys, giving a handstand, applying brakes, all this. Nerve pathways in reflexes. Okay, just give me, can I just have a 5-minute break? Trust me, I just want to just lay on my bed. पूरा मेरा बैक दर्द हो रहा है. मैं 51 मिनट्स ऐसी हूँ, बट ये ख़त्म करके ब्रेक लेते हैं. A reflex action may be quicker to have value. Therefore, the pathway for receiving and sending information must be short. In a simple reflex, impulses are not conducted up and down the spinal cord, but live at the same level at which they enter. This may involve two neurons, three dorsal, sensory neuron, motor neuron. I think this by the way, I'm done with the nervous system. Later कि मैंने पढ़ लिया है. Now we will be reading sense organs. It's very important. Sense organs, like 4 more chapters to go. We have a long way ahead. Let's not waste our time and let's just start the reading. I want to read more. Let's start. The eyes orbits. The two eyes are located in the deep sockets or orbits in the front side of the head. Each eye is in the form of a ball and can be rotated with the help of 6 muscles. Eyelids. The upper and the lower eyelids protect the outer surface of the eyes and can shut out light. Each eyelid carries outwardly curved eyelashes which prevent falling of larger particles into the eye. Eyebrows, although virtually not a part of our eye, these are also protective. They prevent the raindrops or the trickling perspirations from getting into the eyes. They are located at the upper sideward portion of the orbit. 6 to 12 ducts of land pour the secretion over the surface. These movements of iris blinking spread the liquid which mainly serves as a lubricant. The tears also keep the front surface of the eye clean by washing away dust particles. They also have an antiseptic property due to the enzyme lysosome which kills the germs. Sperm ducts. These ducts drain off liquid into a sac lining at the inner angle of the eye. A nasolacrimal duct conducts the secretion into the nasal cavity. All of us have sometimes experienced that medicines dropped in eyes come into the nose and even into the throat. This happens through the above mentioned duct due to irritation or in certain emotional states. The tear gland pour out a lot of liquid which waters the eyes or overflows as tears. You may shed tears both in grief and extreme joy. Conjunctiva. It is a thin membrane covering the entire front part of the eye. It is continuous with the inner lining of the eyelids over the cornea. It is reduced to a single layer of transport epithelium. You must have often heard of a very common disease, conjunctivitis, in which this outermost layer turns red due to viral infection. The pony orbit socket, eyebrow, tear gland, and conjunctiva serve for eye protection in their own way. Structure of the eyeballs. The wall of the eyeball is composed of the three concentric layers: outer sclerotic, middle choroid, inner retina. Sclerotic or sclera is made up of tough fibrous tissue and is white in color. The white portion on the front of the eye is the sclerotic layer, itself visible through its conjunctiva. It bulges out and becomes transparent in the front region where it covers the colored part of the eye. This part is called cornea. Sometimes the cornea of some patients turn opaque and non-functional. In such cases, the defective cornea can be replaced by a healthy cornea from a donated eye. According to recent reports, AIIMS New Delhi has developed the technique of slicing the cornea into 2 to 3 layers that can be grafted as many defective eyes. The choroid layer is richly supplied with blood vessels for providing nourishment to the eyes. It contains a dark black pigment melanin which prevents light rays from reflecting and scattering into the eye. In front of the eye, the choroid expands to form the ciliary body containing ciliary bodies. The smooth muscles in ciliary bodies after the shape of the lens. The iris is also an extension of the choroid, partially covering the lens and leaving a circular opening in the center. The pupil. The blue, brown or black color of the eye refers to the color of iris. Name has been derived from the Latin word pupa, meaning doll, which is context refers to the tiny image one set. The iris contains radial muscles to widen and circular muscles to constrict. This adjustment of the size of the pupil regulates the amount of light entering the eye. You can easily observe this by throwing a torch into the eyes while looking into a mirror. In dim or dark light, the pupil is dilated, while in bright light, it is constricted. The pattern and arrangement of the iris muscles is unique for every individual, and therefore these are also a source of an individual identification. The retina, or the innermost layer, is sensitive to light. It contains two types of cells called rods and cones. The rod cells, rod-like, are sensitive to dim light, but they do not respond to color. They contain the rhodopsin or visual purple. The rod cells are distributed almost throughout the retina. The cones are sensitive to bright light and are responsible for the vision. They contain the pigment iodopsin or visual violet. The cone cells are mostly confined to the yellow spot. The distribution of rods and cones is not uniform. A particular spot called the macula lutea or simply yellow spot lies at the back of the eye, almost at the center on the horizontal axis of the eyeball. This spot contains the maximum number of sensory cells and partially the cones. As a result, this is the region of brightest vision and also of the color vision. The rest of the retina has fewer cones and more rods. The yellow spot is the place of the best vision of the normal eye. This is the reason why that is only a blind spot, the area of no vision. Later, to the yellow spot or on the nasal side is the blind spot. There are no sensory cells here, and therefore this is the point of no vision. This is the point at which the nerve fibers from all the sensory cells of the retina converge and bundle together to leave the eyeball in the form of an optic nerve. Lens. The lens is a transparent, flexible, biconvex crystalline body located just behind the pupil. It contains transparent lens fibers, long thin cells which have lost their nucleus. The lens is collectively held in position by fibers called suspensory ligament which attach attaches it to the ciliary body. The ciliary body lies at the junction of the choroid and the iris and is itself a part of a choroid. The ciliary body contains muscles which on contraction and relaxation change the shape of the lens for viewing objects at different distances. The lens together with its suspending structures divides the inner cavity of the eyeball into two chambers: aqueous chamber in front of the lens and vitreous chamber behind the lens. Aqueous chamber in front of the chamber between the lens and the cornea. It is filled with a clear watery liquid called aqueous humor. The aqueous humor serves in two ways: keeps the lens moist and protects it from physical shock. It refracts light. Vitreous chamber is a larger cavity of the eyeball behind the lens. It is filled with a transparent jelly-like thicker fluid called as vitreous humor. The vitreous humor serves two functions. It helps in keeping the shape of the eyeball. It protects the retina and its nerve endings. How do we see? Entry of light. The light rays from the object enter the eyes through the transparent structure: conjunctiva, a cornea, aqueous humor, lens, vitreous humor. First, the curvature of the cornea converges the light rays to some extent, and the lens converges them further to form an image on the retina. The image on the retina is inverted and real. Transmission of nerve impulse from the retina to brain. The light energy of the image produces chemical changes in the sensitive cells, rods and cones. These changes generate nerve impulses which travel through the optic nerve and reach the visual area of the cerebrum, where they give the sensation of sight. Interpretation of the brain. Our brain interprets the image in many ways. It sees the objects upright even if the image formed in the eye is inverted. Accommodation. So to see an object clearly, its image should be in a sharp focus in each eye. The process of focusing the eye to see objects at different distances is called accommodation. This is mainly brought about by a change in the curvature of the elastic lens, making it thinner or fatter. For distance vision, the lens is more flattened or thinner. For near vision, the lens becomes more convex, rounded. These in normal conditions, ciliary muscles, the lens remain stretched by the suspensory ligaments, and it is less convex, studied for viewing distant objects. When we look at nearby objects, the ciliary muscles contract and tend to pull the ciliary body slightly forward. This releases the tension on the suspensory ligaments, making it loose and the lens, on the account of its elasticity, becomes thicker and more rounded or convex. When you pass from a brightly lit area to a dark room, you experience difficulty in seeing objects for a short while. Slowly your vision is improved. This improved is called as dark adoption. This change is generation of visual purple or rhodopsin, the pigment of rods, which was earlier broken down due to bright light. Dilation of the purpose permits the more light to enter. When a person with a dark adopted eyes moves into a brightly lit area, as in coming out of a cinema hall after the noon show, he experiences dazzling effect for a short film. After a few seconds, he comes back to the normal viewing through light adoption. The adoption is due to reverse of previous changes. The visual purpose of the rods is bleached, reducing their sensitivity. The pupil constricts to reduce the amount of light entering the eyes. The partial closure to the eyelids in dazzling light also serves the same purpose. Color vision. Color vision is responsible only through the cones of the retina, which are stimulated only in bright light. You cannot make out the red, violet or purple flowers in a garden on a moonlit night, because then only the rod functions and cones do not function, right? So near sightedness or myopia, मैं कह रही हूँ ये मतलब ये नहीं है भाई, मुझे है myopia, थैंकफुली मैं देख पा रही हूँ. It's okay, not distraction. हाँ, तो myopia or myopia or short-sightedness is a condition in which the near objects cannot be seen clearly by the distant objects. क्या? हाँ, the eyeball is lengthened from front to back. The eyeball is lengthened from front to back. the lens is too curved, even so lens is too curved, the defect can be occurred by a suitable concave diverging. This defect can be corrected by a suitable concave diverging lens which cause the light rays to diverge before they strike the lens of the most of the eye. Most of your classmates using spectacles may be suffering from myopia. ठीक है ना. नेक्स्ट इज hypermetropia or hyperopia. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट इज अ कंडीशन. ठीक है व्हाट इज दिस. ठीक है. Okay, so next is a condition. Okay. It's a condition there is a difficulty in seeing near objects in it. The image of the near object falls behind the retina. Reasons for hyperopia: this defect results on the account of either shortening of the eyeball from the front to back or the lens is too flat. Next, इसका hyperopia या फिर hypermetropia का we have to use convex lens ना. Astigmatism, it's a defect in which some parts of the object are seen in focus while the others are blurred. It arises due to uneven curvature of the cornea. This is corrected by cylindrical lenses. Presbyopia is a condition affecting the older people who cannot see near objects. Their lenses lose flexibility, resulting in a kind of far sightedness. This again is corrected by convex lenses. Cataract is a condition in which the lens turns opaque and the vision is cut down. Even the total blindness, it can be corrected by surgical removing the lens and by using spectacles with highly convex lenses compensating for the missing lens, or in a newer technique a small plastic lens is implanted behind or front of their iris. Night blindness is a condition in which a person feels difficulty in seeing in dim light as due to night. This is due to non-formation of the pigment visual purple of rods. Only rods function in dim light, and in the absence of the pigment they cannot function. This is usually due to deficiency of vitamin A, which is required for the synthesis of the pigment. Color blindness is the condition in which some people by birth cannot discriminate between certain colors such as red, green. This is due to a genetic defect. Mostly males suffer from this defect, whereas it rarely occurs in females. Corneal opacity. The cornea of some patients gets scattered and turns opaque and non-functional. Such defects can cause anything from the minor irritation to vision problems and even blindness. In such cases, the defective cornea can be replaced by a healthy cornea from a donated eye. Squint. In this defect, the two eyes somewhat converge, leading to what is called cross eye. An opposite condition appears when they diverge and is called as wide eye. Both the condition may cause double vision or diplopia. Surgery, suitable exercise can correct this defect. नेक्स्ट इज ईयर. द ह्यूमन ईयर. मैंने सब स्किप मारा बीच में, को जो अनवांटेड मुझे लग रहा था क्या नहीं पढ़ना. एंड ह्यूमन ईयर is concerned with the two functions, hearing and body balance. It has three main divisions: outer eye, middle eye, inner ear. The outer ear consists of projecting part called as pinna and the passage auditory canal and the eardrum, or it is also called as tympanion. ठीक है. The middle ear contains three tiny bones called as malleus, incus, stapes or hamel, anvil and stirrup is in popular terms, and a eustachian tube which connects the cavity of the middle ear with the throat. The three bones are collectively called the ear ossicles. The handle of the hammer bone is attached to the inner surface of the eardrum. Its opposite end is connected to the anvil, which in turn is joined to the stirrup. The flat part of the stirrup fits on the so-called oval window membrane covered opening leading to the inner ear. A second opening, the round window, also covered by a thin membrane, connects the middle and the inner ear. The inner ear or the membranous labyrinth has three parts: the cochlear, semicircular canals and the vestibule. The cochlear is a spiral shaped and looks like a snail shell. What is that? It has 2.5 turns. Its inner winding cavity is divided into three parallel canals separated by membranes. The median is called endolymph and the other two with perilymph. The middle canal contains areas possessing sensory cells, spiral organ called organ of Corti for hearing. The nerve fibers arising from these cells join the auditory nerve. The sensory cells lie on the basilar membrane. The other part of the inner eye is a set of three semicircular canals which are crucial for maintaining balance and spatial orientation. They are arranged at the right angles to each other in three different places so that one is horizontal and the other two are vertical. One end of each canal is widened to form an ampulla which contains sensory cells for dynamic balance while the body is in motion, and nerve fibers from them join the auditory nerve. The short stem joining the bases of semicircular canals to the cochlear shows the two parts, a utriculus and a sacculus, collecting terms a vestibular. These parts also contain sensory cells for static balance when the body is stationary, as in standing. Functions of the ear. The internal ear has two sensory functions: hearing and body balance. Hearing: the pinna collects the noise or the sound waves and conducts them through the external auditory canal. The final strike on the eardrum, which is set into vibration. The eustachian tube equalizes the air pressure on either side of the eardrum, allowing it to vibrate freely. The vibrating eardrum also sets the three ossicles into vibration. The vibration of the last ossicle is amplified due to lever like action of the first two ossicles. The vibrating stirrup transmits the vibration to the membrane of the oval window, which in turn sets the fluid contained in the cochlear canals also into the vibration. The vibrating movements of the fluid stimulate the hair-like processes of the sensory cells of the cochlear, and the impulses are transmitted to the brain via the auditory canal. The different areas of the cochlear canal are situated cochlear canals are situated to sounds of different pitches. Most of the sounds we hear are combination of vibration and many different rates of speed. Cannot pick up the vibration frequencies. Our sensory ending detect sounds from 20 to 20,000 hertz, with the most sensitive range being 10,000. As the head is turned in the different directions, the fluid inside the semicircular canal is also shaken. The moving fluid in the canals push against sensory hair cells, sending the nerve impulse through the nerve fibers attached to them to the brain via the auditory nerve. The sensory cells in the semicircular canals are concerned with dynamic equilibrium while the body is in motion. Similarly, sensory patches are also located in the utriculus and sacculus, which register the static and balance with respect to gravity. Next, we'll be doing endocrine system directly from adrenal medulla. Adrenal जो भी है वो adrenal medulla secretes adrenaline, also called as epiphyrin and noradrenaline. Adrenaline is a hormone which prepares the body to meet any emergency situation for fight, to face danger. Like this, please. To face adrenaline is a hormone which prepares the body to meet any emergency situation, to fight, to face danger, or for flight, to run away from it. Extra energy and strength is provided to the body in that situation. Extra hormone is released into the blood at the time of emotional stress. When excited or angry, our adrenals produce a lot of adrenaline. The gland itself is stimulated by the nerve ending of the autonomic nervous system. Functions of the adrenaline: the emergency, it increases heartbeat accompanied by an increase in blood pressure. It increases blood supply to the muscles while decreasing it to the skin and visceral organs. More glucose is released into the blood by the liver, like putting more fuel into the engine. The final dash to win a race is under the influence of adrenaline. Adrenal cortex secretes many hormones, but the best known hormone is cortisol, which suppresses inflammation. The cortical hormone are characterized as mineral corticoids, glucocorticoids, sex corticoids. Mineral corticoids regulates the mineral metabolism, especially Na plus K plus ions. Glucocorticoids regulates carbohydrate, protein, and fat metabolism. In general, the cortical hormones increase blood sugar concentration, influence fat and protein metabolism, regulate salt and water balance in the body, adapt the body to stress such as extreme heat, cold, burn, infection, etc. Sex corticoids. Certain corticoids hormones behaves like sex corticoids. These are both male as well as female hormones in both sexes. And overgrowth of cortex in young children leads to a premature sexual maturity. Hyposecretion of cortisol from an adrenal cortex causes Addison's disease. Symptoms are loss of energy, skin pigmentation, loss of weight, nausea, hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, sensitivity to cold, pain, etc. Hypersecretion of cortisol from adrenal cortex causes Cushing syndrome. Symptoms are obesity, hyperglycemia, osteoporosis, weakness, salts and water retention. Pancreas in both a duct gland as well as a ductless gland. As a duct gland, its secretion is poured into the duodenum for digestion. As a ductless gland, it has special grouping of hormone secreting cells called as islets of larynx, which are scattered in the entire gland. The islet cells produce three hormones, but that stomata is not there: insulin and glucagon, which is alpha and beta. ठीक है. So insulin secreted by beta cells checks rise of sugar level in the blood. This is done. This is this it does in two principal ways. It promotes glucose utilization by the body cells, thereby reducing the blood sugar level. It stimulates deposition of extra glucose of the blood as glycogen in liver and muscles. Insufficient secretion of insulin causes diabetes, more correctly diabetes hypoglycemia, diabetes mellitus. The word mellitus means honey, referring to the passage of sugar in urine. A diabetic person has high concentration of sugar in blood. Hyperglycemia, excess sugar in blood, excretes a great deal of urine loaded with sugar. Feels thirsty because of the loss of water through too much urination. Water loses weight and becomes weaker and weaker. Thus, usual treatment by administering insulin is not a cure but only a method of supplying the hormone which is not being produced by the pancreas. Oversecretion, sugar level in the blood is lowered. Oversecretion become sugar level in the blood is lowered. Hypoglycemia below. So brain may enter a state of coma if the level becomes too low for a few minutes. A similar thing may happen to a diabetic patient if an overdose of insulin. Even the patient may become unconscious. This is called as insulin shock or hypoglycemia, or a prompt bite of sweet biscuit or a sugar candy is helpful. Glucagon is secreted from an alpha cells. It stimulates the breakdown of glycogen in the liver to glucose. Thus, it raises the sugar level in the blood. Thyroid is a lobed butterfly shaped structure situated in the front neck just below the larynx. The two lobes are joined by the narrow isthmus interconnection. It secretes two hormones, thyroxine एक ही पढ़ना है. Thyroxine is in our syllabus. Thyroxine regulates the basal metabolism with the rate of cellular oxidation resulting in the heat production and rest. An increase in the secretion increases metabolism and a decrease in the secretion lowers it. It also influences the general growth of the body, ossification of bones, body temperature, mental development, etc. Under secretion, over secretion. Under secretion, hypothyroidism means under secretion. Insufficient secretion of thyroxine may lead to three conditions: simple goiter, cretinism, myxoidism. Simple goiter is an enlargement of thyroid and is visible as swelling in the neck. Cretinism is a condition which affects the growth of children, showing dwarfism and mental retardation. This is due to defective development or early atrophy, degeneration of thyroid. Myxoedema is a condition that affects an adult if his thyroid does not function properly. In this condition, the person may become sluggish, swelling of the face and hands. Oversecretion means oversecretion of thyroid, protruding eyes, formation of goiter in the neck, a marked increase in metabolic rate, rapid heartness, shortness, heartbeat, shortness of breath. So excess of thyroxine secretion may be cause a kind of goiter, also called as exophthalmic goiter. Pituitary gland. Now देखो, the pituitary gland is a small projection the size of a pea seed which hangs from the base of the midbrain below hypothalamus. It is popularly called the master gland because it seems to control particularly all other endocrine glands. 82 82 82 84. Pituitary gland has two distinct lobes, the anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary. Anterior pituitary weighs more than only about 1/2 gram. The front part of the posterior pituitary is different from the rest lobe and is called the intermediate lobe. The intermediate lobe is almost absent in humans but much larger and more functional in some lower animals. Some important hormones produced by the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland. Growth hormone GH is essential for normal growth. It is also called as somatotropin. The deficiency of GH, which is growth hormone, childhood results in dwarfism. The oversecretion in childhood results in gingivitism. So ये सब हमें पता होना चाहिए. If oversecretion of growth hormone in an adult, there is a growth of bones. So hands, the person develops a large nose. This condition is called as acromegaly. Thyroid stimulating hormone, which is called TSH, activates thyroid to secrete thyroxine. Gonad stimulating hormones regulates the activities of testes and ovaries. Adrenocorticotropic corticotrophic hormone 8 CTH regulates the activities of adrenal cortex hormones from posterior pituitary. The posterior lobe of the pituitary gland releases two hormones named vasopressin and oxytocin. Antidiuretic hormone ADH, also called vasopressin, constricts blood vessels which rise in blood pressure. It also acts on the kidney, increasing reabsorption of water from the kidney tubules. Deficiency of ADH causes diabetes insipidus. Deficiency of ADH. What is ADH? What is ADH? Is antidiuretic hormone, in which urination is frequent or copious, resulting in the loss of water from the body, and person becomes thirsty. Oxytocin stimulates vigorous concentration of the uterus in a pregnant mother, leading to the birth of the baby. It stimulates milk ejection. Next, control of hormone harm. The body has a mechanism to maintain a normal state. Whenever there is a change in this state, there are messages through the body systems to increase. If there is a fall below the normal or decrease, there is a rise, which is most of the time it is negative, but the only positive is oxytocin, which is in mother. ठीक है. So that is it. आपको पता होना चाहिए यहाँ पे ना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट यार, ADH एंटीडायरेटिक हार्मोन, TSH थायराइड स्टिमुलेटिंग हार्मोन एंड एडरनोकॉर्टिकोट्रोपिक हार्मोन CTH. दिस ऑल लिटिल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, पढ़ना, दिमाग में रखना. एंड नेक्स्ट वी हैव रिप्रोडक्शन इन ह्यूमन्स. Reproductive system again, that only, and the reproductive system, and पहला वाला circulator वाला हमने नहीं करा था. And I think I'm sure my storage is 90 plus 95 plus. मेरा percentage इतना नहीं आया और मेरा storage हमेशा full हो जाता है, but never mind. अभी यार I'm gonna put it that like I thought कि मैं entire bio करूँगी, मेरा storage support नहीं कर रहा है मुझे, because मुझे message आ चुका है कि you are running out of your storage, so that is the reason. But yes, that is not it for this one. I want to really study, try doing a study with me वैसे, but yeah, ये it's gonna be a human anatomy study with me, so yeah. यार मैं 2 चैप्टर तो नहीं छोड़ना चाहती हूँ. देखो सर्कुलेटरी वाला सेपरेटली अपलोडेड है yesterday. I hope you yesterday or day before yesterday you might have seen it. So let's do reproductive system. तो वो कर लिया, तो इसलिए कि चलो भाई मैंने ह्यूमन एनाटॉमी छू लिया, क्योंकि मैं वो सर्कुलेटरी वाला तो मैंने परसों दिन करा था, है ना. तो इतना डीप नहीं जाएंगे भाई हम, जैसे हमने वो पढ़ा है ऊपर पढ़ेंगे. ओके. Reproduction in humans. The organs of reproductive system are divided into primary and accessory parts. The primary reproductive parts include the gonads, testes in males and ovaries in females, which produces sex cells, gametes or sperm and eggs. The accessory reproductive parts include all those structures, ducts and glands which help in the transfer and meeting of the two kinds of sex cells, leading to the fertilization and the growth and the development of the egg up to the birth of the baby. Male reproductive system. Testes one pair, it is one in pair. Testes one pair produce sperms. Sperm duct was different from each testis to carry sperms. Accessory glands, seminal vesicle, prostatal gland, bulbourethral gland to contribute to seminal fluid. A penis for transferring that sperms into the female vagina. Urethra containing inside the penis conveys the sperms received from the sperm ducts. Location of the testes. The two testes are oval organs which are contained in a thin walled saccade of a skin called as scrotum. In embryonic stage, the testes are contained within the abdomen. They are descend into the scrotum shortly before the birth. An abdominal condition results when they do not descend and leads to sterility, incapable to produce sperms. A slightly higher temperature inside the body does not permit the nutrition of the sperms, but the normal condition being in separate sacs suspended from the body, the testes gives too much body heat. Structure of testes. Each testis is annexed in a capsule which is internally partitioned into around 250 lobes. Each lobule contains seminiferous tubule, interstitial cells. Seminiferous tubule, interstitial cells. Seminiferous tubule. God, भाई seminiferous. Where the sperms are produced, this is called this where the sperms are produced. This process is also called as spermatogenesis. कहाँ पे seminiferous tubule ठीक है ये interstitial cells which are packing tissues between the coils of the seminiferous tubules. The interstitial cells, also called as Leydig cells, produce the male hormones testosterone. The sperm producing cells of the seminiferous tubules keep multiplying and produce sperms. The mature sperms pass into a small network of tubes. From the network arise 12 to 14 ducts, efferent ducts, which join a smaller tubular knot, the epididymis, fitting like a cap on the upper pole of the testis. The epididymis is continued by the side of the testis upon up to its back, from where a distinct tube sperm duct arises. The epididymis internally contains a single coil tube about 6 cm long, which transfers from the upper part of the testis to its back and is contained in the sperms for some days, during which they mature and become motile. Sperm duct. The sperm duct vast difference from each testis travels upward into the abdomen, passing through an inguinal canal. The inguinal canal originally is the one which allows the descent of testes along with their duct, blood vessels, nerves, etc. Sometimes due to pressure in the abdomen, the intestine bulges into scrotum through the inguinal canal and causes the most common type of hernia. The two sperm ducts loop over the uterus of their side, come together and join the median duct or the urethra at the back of the urinary bladder. Accessory gland, seminal vesicle, foster gland, bulbo-urethral gland. Seminal vesicle. The functions याद रखना literally. Oh god, it's 130, 120 actually. But yeah. A pair of lobulated glands located between the posterior surface of the urinary bladder and rectum. A duct from each seminal vesicle joins the corresponding sperm duct just before it unites with urethra. Pores, a secretion which serves as a medium for the transpiration of sperms. The mixture of this fluid and the sperms produces a milky fluid semen in the sperm duct. The sperms are sluggish, but by the addition of the secretion they become active. A bulbous structure which surrounds the urethra close to its origin from the bladder. It pours an alkaline secretion into the semen. As it passes through the urethra, it neutralizes acids in female vagina. Bulbourethral glands or Copper's gland. There are two small oval glands which open into the urethra just before it enters the penis. The secretion serves as lubricant penis. The penis is lying in front of the scrotum, cylindrical in shape, serves as for passing out both semen and urine. It is a highly vascular organ having erectile tissue and vascular spaces. Under the influence of sexual stimulation, blood flows in large amounts into the penis and enters into the vascular spaces or sinuses, which makes it rigid and erect. Expansion of these spaces compress the veins and thus blood cannot drain out. Thus, such condition of penis is called as erection. Next, female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of the following reproductive organs: a pair of ovaries, oviducts, which is also called a fallopian tube to convey the egg released from the ovary, a sac like or pear-shaped uterus for the growth and the development of the embryo, development of the egg, the vagina and the vulva, the outermost part. The ovaries, the two ovaries are small oval bodies. Their pericolor part produce ova or the egg. Normally only one egg matures in each ovary every alternative month. A maturing egg contained in a cellular sac is called follicle. As the egg grows larger, the follicle also enlarges and gets filled with a fluid and is now called a Graafier follicle. When ripe, the follicle bulges over the surface of the ovary. Oogenesis is the process in which the ova producing cells give rise to mature ovum. Ovulation is a process of rupture of Graafier follicle, releasing the egg. The released egg is picked up by fibrin cilia, oviductal funnel of oviduct. The remnant of the follicle persists for some time to convert into yellow mass called corpus luteum yellow. It secretes two hormones, progesterone, progesterone. नाक में कुछ नहीं है, मैं ऐसी कर रही थी बस. Oviduct. The two oviducts, also called as fallopian tube or uterine tube, are 12 cm long near the corresponding ovary. Each oviduct has a funnel-shaped opening called the oviduct funnel. Cilia lining the funnel help to pick up and push the released ova into the oviduct. Subsequently, the waves of muscular contraction of the wall of oviduct push the egg down into the uterus. The uterus is a hollow, pear-shaped muscular organ situated in the pelvic cavity. The urinary bladder and the rectum. It has two regions: an upper wider portion which receives the two oviducts and a small lower constricted part, the cervix or the neck. The vagina is a muscular tube starting from the lower end of the uterus up to the outside. The vagina enters the male penis during the copulation. Uh, the great elasticity of the walls allows the passage of baby during the childbirth. The opening of the vagina in the females is partially closed by a thin membrane called as hymen. The hymen is frequently ruptured in childhood due to strenuous physical exercise and disease. The external female genitalia is called the vulva. It contains independent opening of the urethra and vagina. The sides of the vulva have two small fleshy folds, the labia minora, and the hidden by the larger hairy folds, the labia minora. Um, uh, these folds are the equivalent of the male scrotum in the upper angle of the vulva. In the front of the urethral opening is located in a small erection slider which is highly sensitive and is equivalent for the male. Yes, role of hormones in reproduction. The ovaries of the young girl start functioning around the age of 10 to 14. It starts releasing the ova, and this stage in her life is called as puberty. At about the same time as the first ovulation, the ovary starts releasing female sex hormones. This into the bloodstream. These hormones are called progesterones and are responsible for bringing about bodily changes such as growth of mammary glands, widening of hips, growth of hairs in the pubic region and armpits, and an increase in the size of the uterus and vagina. These developments are referred to as secondary sexual characteristics, while other hormones prepare secreted by corpus luteum. Progesterone prepares the uterus for receiving the embryo. In boys, puberty takes place around the age of 11 to 15 of age. The testes start producing testosterone, resulting in the development of secondary sexual characteristics like deepening of voice, growth of testes, venous growth of hair, chest in the pubic region, armpit, chin, hair, length, mustache. All this. Next, usually हम करना कसम से practice शीघ्र revision. Menstrual cycle, the reproductive period of the human female continues from about the age of 13 to 45 to 50 years. This is a period is marked by a characteristic event repeated almost every month, 28 days, with minor variation in the form of a menstrual flow. It may be temporarily stopped only by pregnancy. The period of a menstrual cycle is counted from the day of the onset of the flow to the next onset for 21 days. मेनार्क स्टार्ट मेनोफेज स्टॉप ध्यान रखना चाहिए यार. सो मेंस्ट्रुअल फेज जो होता है ये 3 to 5 days तक होता है. कितना कोई होता है 3 to 5 days होता है, ड्यूरिंग विच द ब्लड इज डिस्चार्ज. द ब्लीडिंग इज कॉज्ड ड्यू टू द शेडिंग एंड रप्चरिंग ऑफ द ब्लड वेसल्स दैट मेक अप द thickened undermost lining of the uterus called the endometrium. Starting from the onset of menstruation flow, the ovary begins to form a new egg in a follicular phase. It continues from day 5 to 12. As a follicle grows, the amount of progesterone produced by the ovary increases. This hormone then acts on the uterus and causes its lining to become thicker and develop more blood vessels. This change is a kind of preparation for the uterus to receive of the fertilized egg and assist in the early implantation of the embryo and its subsequent development. Ovulatory phase about 13th to 15th day, the follicular ruptures, ovulation, and the released egg travels down the oviduct. The two hormones produced by the pituitary gland, follicular stimulating hormone FSH and luteating hormone LH, promote the maturation and release of the ovum. Luteal phase, it lasts from the days 15 to 28. Uterus lining thickens further, and after the release of the ovum, the emptied follicle in the ovary turns into a hormone producing tissue called corpus luteum. If अंधेरा बादल क्या है ओके डन जल्दी खत्म भाई, खत्म हो गया है, बहुत कम है, अभी जल्दी पढ़ लेते हैं. ड्यूरिंग ऑपरेशन द स्पर्म्स आर रिलीज into the vagina near the cervix of the uterus. A single ejaculation by the human male contains about 400 million sperms. These sperms actually swim with the help of their tails and pass through the cervix into the cavity of the uterus, progressing at the rate of approximately 1 mm per minute from the uterus. They climb up, reach oviduct. This happens to an ovum in the oviduct. It gets fertilized by just one single sperm. Fertilization, the fusion of male gametes and female gamete to form a zygote, is called as fertilization. A few days soon after ovulation, 12-13 days after the onset of menstruation, are the most valuable for conception. out of this. Okay, liver, the functions of the main parts of the sperm. The acrosome at the top of the head of the sperm secretes an enzyme called as hyaluronidase, which facilitates entry of sperms into the egg by dissolving the wall of the ovum. The nucleus contains genetic material 22 plus Y or 22 plus X chromosome, which during fertilization combines with the nucleus of the egg containing 22 plus X chromosome, and thus restoring the normal number 23 pairs. The mitochondria contained in the middle piece provide ATP for the activity of the sperm to swim. The tail makes lashing movements for ovulation. The fertilization during fertilization, the several sperms are surrounded by an egg, but only one sperm enters in it. In doing so, the tail is left behind. Only a head part penetrates the egg. This sperm nucleus fuses with the nucleus egg. As soon as one sperm enters the egg, the entry of other sperm is prevented by a chemical barrier. Next, the fertilized egg zygote soon starts dividing cleavage into the 2, 4, 8 cells and so on. By the time it reaches the uterus, it has already formed a small hollow ball of numerous cells, blastocytes. This is a kind of embryo which forms a pit in the endometrial lining of the uterus and gets fixed in about 5 to 7 days time after ovulation. This process is called as implantation, and it produces the state of pregnancy. Implantation, the process of fixing of blastocyte to the walls of uterus or endometrium, is called as implantation. This is implantation. The uterus continues to develop to take care of the developing embryo. By the end of 5 weeks of the pregnancy, the embryo is quite advanced. The heart and circulatory system have been formed. After 2 months, limbs have been formed. Embryo, fetus, pregnancy are growing egg after fertilization until the main part of the body and the internal organs have started to take shape. Fetus, when embryo starts having a look of a baby from 7 weeks of gestation and onwards. Pregnancy, the state of carrying the unborn young one inside the body. Amniotic, in the early stages of gestation, the implanted blastocyte develops a number of extraembryonic membranes to protect the developing embryo and provide it with nutrition as it develops. These membranes and corin, alanodatus and placenta, they play a vital role in the development of fetus and are present right up to the time of the birth. Amnion is a sac which develops around the embryo even before the formation of allantocysts. A fluid fills the space between the amino and the embryo. Functions of the amniotic fluid: protects the embryo from the physical damage by jerks, keeps and even pressure all around, allows fetus restricted movement, prevents striking of the fetus. Placenta, growing embryo fetus with human-like appearance, is a living organism. It needs food and oxygen. It excretes nitrogen is waste and carbon dioxide, which is needed to continuously removed. These special functions are performed by a structure called as placenta. Placenta is a disc-like structure attached to the uterine wall. A cord containing blood vessels connects the placenta with a fetus. This is called umbilical cord. The placenta is formed of 2 sets of minute finger-like projections called the villi. One set of villi are given out by the uterine wall and the other set by an extension from the embryo. The 2 sets of villi get interlocked, but they never open into each other. Here, the blood of the embryo comes in close contact but never mingles with the blood of the mother. This is the placenta is the intimate connection established between the fetal membrane and the uterine walls, permitting diffusion of nourishment from the mother's blood to that of the growing fetus and disposal of waste from the blood to the fetus of that mother. The placenta is the permeable of respiratory acid, nutrients and also antibodies, but it does not allow the passage of germs from the mother to fetus. Certain viruses like HIV/AIDS can pass through the placenta if the mother is already infected. Secondly, if there was a distant direct continuity of mother between the mother and the fetus without a placenta, the relative high pressure of mother's blood would seriously damage the soft and delicate tissues of fetus. The placenta also acts as an endocrine gland. It produces the hormones ogestrone and progesterone. Presence of progesterone in the urine provides for the test in the pregnancy. Apart nutrition, the full term of the development of the embryo in the uterus is called gestation. In humans, it lasts for about 280 days. At the time of the birth, the baby is pushed out by the powerful contraction of the muscles of the uterus head first. In a few minutes, the blood vessels in the umbilical cord shrink and can be tied and cut. After 15 minutes, the placenta breaks from the uterus and is expelled out after birth. Uterus contracts and gradually comes back in few days. Parturition is the act of expelling the full term fetus from the mother's uterus at the end of gestation. The newborn announces its arrival howl by letting out a sharp cry. Fraternal twins produced, आपको fraternal twins, identical twins, identical twins दोनों सेम होते हैं, fraternal twins तो सेम नहीं होते हैं, ठीक है, ये ठीक है, अब ये इतना ये नहीं है शायद इम्पोर्टेंट. अब हम जल्दी से सर्कुलेटरी सिस्टम पढ़ते हैं यार. सर्कुलेटरी मैंने ना, मतलब आई हैव हैड लाइक वन नाइस रीडिंग, तो जस्ट हैव टू जस्ट ऊपर, बहुत ऊपर. Transport of blood, transport of digestive food, transport of oxygen, transport of carbon dioxide, transport of extremity material, transport of hormones, transport of heat, protection of. So what is a function of the blood? First is transport of blood. Function of the blood is transport. Functions of the blood में वही transport of the blood करता है. Protection by the blood forms a clot wherever there is a cut in a blood vessel. The clot serves to prevent further loss of the blood. The entry of disease causing germs in white blood corpuscles protect the body from disease by engulfing bacteria which may have entered the body. It produces antitoxins and antibodies which neutralizes the poisonous substances or kills the germs which enter the body. Composition of the blood. The blood consists of plasma 55 to 60% cellular elements, 45 to 50% plasma के अंदर 90 to 95 तो water है, बाकी protein 7 to 8% inorganic 1 and other percent stresses. The plasma from which the protein fibrogen has been removed is called as serum. Cellular elements, red blood cell, white blood cells, blood platelets, red blood cells को erythrocytes, white blood cells को leukocyte, blood platelets को thrombocyte, red blood cells तो oxygen carriers होते हैं, ठीक है, ये सब ठीक है यार. Hemoglobin, the effective is an effective chemical constituent of RBC. The red blood cells have a colorless spongy body called stroma which contains a respiratory pigment hemoglobin. The hemoglobin is formed of an iron containing part hemin and a protein containing part globin. It has the ability to combine readily with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, an unstable compound which readily gives up on oxygen to the needy tissues. The hemoglobin can carry a very small quantity of carbon dioxide in the form of carbanohemoglobin. Hemoglobin has a very strong affinity for carbon monoxide, forming a stable compound carboxyhemoglobin (HbCO). This cuts down the capacity of blood of transporting oxygen, sometimes resulting in the death. तो ये important है, इसलिए मैंने पढ़ा पूरा. Now life and death of RBC in adults. RBCs are produced in bone marrow, in long bones, in embryo state, in spleen and liver, and the average lifespan is 120. The mature RBCs have no nuclei. The old and weak RBCs are destroyed in the spleen, liver and bone marrow. ठीक है. Next, deficient but more efficient. Loss of mitochondria, loss of nucleus, loss of mitochondria, no endoplasmic reticulum. Though deficient but above organism mature, loss of nucleus makes the red blood cells biconcave, thus increasing their surface area volume of ratio for absorbing more oxygen. Space in between increased, more RBCs can accommodate in the same space. Lost mitochondria means that RBCs cannot use oxygen for themselves for the respiration occurs. Thus all the oxygen observed from the lungs is transported and delivered to the tissues and consumed. Secondly, loss of mitochondria means full transport of glucose in the blood plasma. No endoplasm means increased flexibility of RBCs for the movement and new capillarism. And now see, when abnormal increase in RBCs is called as polycythemia, abnormal decrease is called as erythropenia. White blood cells में abnormal increase is leukemia, abnormal decrease is leukopenia. And the functions of WBC, first is phagocytosis. This is a process in which most of the WBCs and particularly the neutrophils engulf the bacteria like solid particles, especially bacteria. This is a defense mechanism against the disease. First, then is inflammation, then is formation of antibodies. Now what is diapedesis? Diapedesis is a process in which white blood cells squeeze out of the blood vessels into the surrounding area in case of injuries. Now next आता है different types, MCA, BNG. तो MCA मतलब अग्रेनुलर में मोनोसाइट आता है, मोनोसाइट एंड लिम्फोसाइट. MLA भाई MCA क्या है, वो MLA है ये MLA. सो अग्रेनुलर में मतलब जहाँ पे ग्रैनुल्स नहीं है, मोनोसाइट, लिम्फोसाइट. फिर बेंजी ग्रैनुलर में आता है बेजोफिल, इजोफिल्स, न्यूट्रोफिल्स में आता है ग्रैनुलर, इसमें ग्रैनुल्स होते हैं. सो पहले न्यूट्रोफिल्स इज न्यूक्लियस विथ 3 to 4 lobes. Granular, it has granule cytoplasm stained with neutral dyes. Engulfed bacteria cytoplasm, it is found in bone marrow. Eosophils and nucleus with 2 lobes. The large cytoplasmic, again it also has water granules which is colored dark red color it has, which is eosophil has dark red color. Next, engulfed bacteria secrete antitoxins associated with allergy. Again it is found in production in bone marrow. Basophil nucleus are large and distinctly lobed granules stained with basic dyes. It is methylene blue to release chemical histamine for the inflammation which dilate blood vessels. It is found in bone marrow again. Lymphocyte smallest, it is the smallest WBC. It has single large nucleus, the very smallest WBC, but it has a very big round nucleus. It produces antibodies. Bone marrow, lymph, spleen, tonsils इस सब में मिला जाता है. फिर monocyte, it has a kidney shaped nucleus at the site of infection, incest joints, and it has bone marrow. ब्लड क्लॉटिंग, क्लॉटिंग के लिए कौन सा ये एलिमेंट जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है यार, दैट इज कैल्शियम. ठीक है. द इंजर्ड, ये भी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है यार, पढ़ना तो होगा. चलो हाँ. व्हेन अ ब्लड वेसल इज कट, ब्लड एस्केप्स फ्रॉम इट बट सून अ क्लॉट इज फॉर्म्ड ऑन द वुंड एंड द ब्लड फ्लोज. ब्लड इज स्टॉप्ड. इफ इट वर नॉट सो द इंजर्ड पर्सन वुड ब्लीड to death. Clotting, the injured tissue cells and platelets which disintegrate at the site of wound release a substance called as thrombokinase, also called as thromboplastin, which is factor X or saturate factor. The thromboskinase acts as an enzyme with the help of calcium ions present in the plastin. It converts substance thrombin into prothrombin into thrombin, and vitamin K, a fat soluble vitamin, is essential for a production of prothrombin. Prothrombin is presence of calcium ions reacts with the soluble fibrogen of plasma to convert it into fibrin, from fibrogen into fibrin. So blood cells are trapped in network of the fibrin. The network then shrinks and squeezes out the rest of the plasma, which is in the form of a clear liquid, the serum, the solid mass which is left behind. Then hemophilia, आपको पता है, ये नहीं पढ़ूंगी मैं. ये directly blood group A has antigen A, blood group B has antigen B, AB has AB antigen, O has no antigen, A has B antigen, B has A antigen, AB has no antigen, O has both A and B antigen. ये ओके. RH फैक्टर यहाँ पे मैंने दिखाई नहीं है यार, PYQ में मुझे दिखाई नहीं, बट स्टिल इंपॉर्टेंट है, देख लेना आप. PYQ में नहीं है, वाओ. बट यहाँ हार्ट पता है भाई हमें, हार्ट का भी. हाँ, पल्मिनरी पसंद बता रही हूँ. आई थिंक इट्स टू बिग. आई होप कि मेरा गैलरी फुल ना हो. मुझे वही डर लग बस. I'm tired, I can't even do this. Okay. हम पढ़ते हैं ब्लड वेसल्स एंटरिंग द हार्ट. एंटीरियर वेना केवा, सुपीरियर वेना केवा, विच इज सुपीरियर वेना केवा एंड इंफीरियर वेना केवा. ब्लड वेसल्स लीविंग द हार्ट. पल्मोनरी आर्टरी, aorta. coronary artery which gives oxygen to this valves, regulator. So atrioventricular valve, atrial left ventricular valve, pulmonary seminal valve, aortic seminal valve. ठीक है. हार्ट बीट हमें पता है. लब साउंड कब होता है? लब और डब. लब होता है जब एट्रियोवेंट्रिकुलर वाल्व जब कॉन्टैक्ट करते हैं या फिर सिस्टोल में, और डब कब होता है? जब सेमिलुनर वाल्व जब सिस्टोल करते हैं तब होता है. पेसमेकर छोड़ो, ये क्या, ये पेसमेकर. ब्लड वेसल्स में आता है आर्टरी और वेन आता है. आर्टरी में क्या है? आर्टरी हैव थिक वेसल्स, thick arteries are thicker, veins are not thicker. It has very narrow lumen, it has very wider lumen. It has no valves. It has valves, carry oxygenated, deoxygenated. This हाँ, आर्टरी का भाई इतना बस है ना यार, इतना बस है. ठीक है, इतना बस है. नेक्स्ट, कैपिलरीज. इट्स वॉल्स कंसिस्ट ऑफ अ सिंगल लेयर ऑफ स्क्वामेंस एपिथेलियम, हैज नो मसल्स. इट हैज नो मसल्स. ओके. कैपिलरीज टू आउटवर्ड. हाँ, कैपिलरीज फंक्शन अगेन, इट हेल्प्स इन आउटवर्ड डिफ्यूजन, इनवर्ड डिफ्यूजन ऑफ कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, and outward diffusion, inward diffusion of carbon dioxide and outward diffusion of oxygen, and it helps in this also, helps in squeezing out also. ये मैंने बता दिया. The two types of blood हमारे होते हैं सिस्टमैटिक और पर्मनरी सर्कुलेशन. सॉरी, सिस्टमैटिक सर्कुलेशन और हमारा पर्मनरी सर्कुलेशन. ये मैं किसी और दिन अच्छे से पढ़ूंगी यार. द वेन स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम द स्टमक एंड द इंटेस्टाइन डू नॉट डायरेक्टली कन्वे द ब्लड टू द पोस्टीरियर वेना केवा. इंस्टेड द फर्स्ट एंटर द लिवर एट द कंबाइनिंग हेपाटिक पोर्टल वेन. देयर इट ब्रेक्स अप कैपिलरीज इन कॉन्ट्रास्ट टू द जनरलाइज्ड कैरेक्टरिस्टिक ऑफ द वेन, एंड अ न्यू वेन कॉल्ड एज हेपाटिक वेन इज फॉर्म्ड देयर. ठीक है. The unit which joins the posterior vena cava by deflection of portal vein which starts. So it's like, where is this bro? Hepatic vein. hepatic कहाँ है भाई? तो hepatic G. ठीक है. देखो, hepatic portal vein. तो hepatic vein, hepatic artery भी कहाँ है पता नहीं क्या यार, वो मैं अपनी इसमें देखा था. वो hepatic artery, देखो hepatic artery है. hepatic artery मुझे समझ नहीं आया ठीक से मुझे, बट ठीक है. मैं कल भी पढ़ा था तब भी नहीं समझ आया था, मतलब आया तो था लाइक कंसेप्ट वाली चीज़ में. या ब्लड प्रेशर में आता है. टिश्यू फ्लूइड एंड लिम्फ. टिश्यू फ्लूइड, इंटरस्टिशियल फ्लूइड, लिम्फ एंड लिम्फेटिक सिस्टम. कंपोजिशन ऑफ लिम्फ, सेलुलर पार्ट, नॉन सेलुलर पार्ट. फंक्शंस ऑफ लिम्फ, न्यूट्रिटिव ड्रेनेज, absorption, defense. Spleen, again we have functions. It acts as blood reservoir, produces lymphocyte, it destroys worn out RBCs. It, an embryo produces RBCs. ये मैंने बहुत जल्दी करा है, and that is want to do, that's like, comment, subscribe and thank you so much for watching. भाई मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा डर लग रहा है that स्टोरी सुन चुकी है भाई, इसमें में कुछ ऑपरेटिव चलेगा कि कुछ भी तो ऐसा हो जाता है, but never mind, we did human anatomy, trust me, human anatomy is done. Oh god, yeah, I know I have not done it nicely, that ऐसे good में, but trust me, the biggest portion human anatomy is done. This 4 hour like आराम से हो जाएगा. So yeah, that is it for this one. If you watched till here, thanks for watching.